Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm Locke Cooper. As always, you can follow me on X at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on X. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. And today on the show is the Eagles' secret weapon going to the wayside? If there will be any 2025 college football changes, how ESPN continues to disregard this sport, and Max Scherzer doesn't like what is eventually coming to Major League Baseball. But first, there are not going to be any changes to the 2025 college football playoff, which is sad and it's unfortunate, as the SEC and Big Ten folks met together. The commissioners met to discuss the outlook of the 2025 college football playoff and what might need to be tweaked, what might need to be changed, kind of what they're looking for, what they're hoping, since they essentially drive the bus for this college football playoff, as pretty much all the commissioners basically bended a knee for them to structure the playoff pretty much however they wanted to. That seemed fit. Well, the current commissioners and leagues are putting a stop on what should happen for at least the 2025 year, as the SEC and Big Ten wants what America really wants, and that being the top 4 ranked teams by the committee be seeded 1 through 4 and get the buys. So, and that's just to remind you, in that scenario, it would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas, and Penn State, top 4 ranked teams that get your automatic buys. Arizona State got one because they won their conference. Would have ended up being the 12th seed, and Boise, who they decided to give the bye to, would have ended up being the number 9 seed in the playoff bracket. Your 8-9 matchup would have been a lot different, as your 8-9 would have been, say, Boise State versus Indiana, and not Oregon, Ohio State versus Tennessee. Now, the way Ohio State played, I don't think it would have mattered. They were going to win the national championship the way they played. That wouldn't have mattered. But, in some years it could. The way they were steamrolling everybody, it was a wrap. But that's what the conference, Big Ten and Big 12, SEC want. Now, all 10 conferences would have to agree to this change. And, of course, how it played out this year, especially this year, why would the Mountain West and the Big 10, the Big 12 say, yeah, let's swap these changes with how much they benefited? Their team, Boise, the Mountain West, the non-Power 5 school, benefited a great deal, obviously, from having the bye. And then Arizona State, like I said, would have been the 12th seed, benefited by having the bye. And maybe they do, maybe they don't get a higher seed based on how things shake out, with maybe seeding might have been a little bit different. But they benefited from being better than Clemson, which they are. They were a better team than Clemson to get the bye. Why would they sign off and say, heck yeah? And then the ACC as well. Clemson had a chance to benefit from potentially getting that bye between Clemson, Boise State, and Arizona State. I think ultimately they chose correctly in Arizona State. Yeah, you make an argument, Clemson or Boise getting the bye. Sure, whatever. I would have probably gone Clemson still. But they were in the conversation to potentially get that bye. It would benefit them to keep it how it is. Now, the ACC commissioner I think he's just kind of throwing this in the air, throwing it up against the wall because it's a talking point for him and it helps his conference. Where he basically said, look, the NFL does it this way with the seeds. People know it, people understand it. And it's a formula and format that makes sense since the college football and the college football playoff is going more NFL style anyway. Let's just keep it that way. Now, I think another big thing is the advancement. The money you're bringing in for your school and your conference of already being in the quarterfinals. Each round you get a portion of that money depending on if your teams from your conference are there. So that's a big part of it too, I think. I mean, it's huge for the Mountain West. That money that Boise's bringing in for themselves and the Mountain West, boy, oh boy. Same thing for Arizona State. They bring that money to the Big 12. So I think that's a big part of it too. So it's definitely a missed opportunity to fix the 2025 playoffs. But then in 2026, when you really have the change of when they can tweak it and change the outlook again. Now, with this being said, there's been talk of expansion even more, making it 14 or even 16 teams, and that's no good to me. That would not help college football at all. One thing I will admit, I was wrong about the 12-team playoff devaluing the regular season, but 12 to me is still a bit too many. For me, it should be 8. And I've said that if you were to expand from 4, go to 8. And it fits better, makes more sense. But now that there are 12 teams, they're not going to eliminate a couple of those teams to make it back to 8, they're not dropping, of course, 4 teams because the money influence of that. You get more money, more teams, more fan bases involved, etc., etc., etc. But it's a missed opportunity to go ahead and tweak it in 2025, knowing, hey, this is a better situation. Of course, the SEC and Big Ten knowing, well, this is going to help our conference more because we have better teams, which is true. But as a whole, the regular season still has to matter and mean something based on, you're playing the field. Yes, winning divisions and conferences matter, but that's all I got to say. But we saw in the playoffs this year, the Vikings were a wild card team. How well they played. A wild card team. Yeah. So, case in point, this year, perfect example of that in the college football playoff and in the NFL, one being NFL style. It sucked for the Vikings without a doubt. Just like it's unfortunate for some of these college football teams. You have an opportunity to fix it to make it right in the first year, after the first year of the 12-team playoff. Do it. Now, something else I hope the NFL doesn't do is ban the tush push. The NFL is talking about, their rule policies and changes, and I do actually like some of these that they're talking about tweaking and changing. One of them I don't like is banning the tush push. I mean, to me, that's crazy because you've got 1 team, 2 teams that can do it very well. It's perfectly legal to ban it. It's an opportunity for you to do it as well. Your team can design a play to do that that works for you, that works for your quarterback, that works for your offensive line to get that push. You can do it. Why don't you do it? Just because the Eagles have obviously mastered it, a perfectly legal play, why are you going to ban it? It doesn't hurt the game. It doesn't affect anybody outside of it's a really good play that the Eagles have figured out how to do, how to run, and execute it flawlessly. That's the exact same thing with the Bills and Allen. Josh Allen, they use that play as well. They execute it very well because they figured out a play. Why are you going to take it away? It's legal. They say it's dangerous risk on the quarterback. Well, if it is, okay, well, that's the risk of that team to use that play. To risk their star quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. That's part of the risk of it. Now, neither player's gotten hurt yet. 0% injury rate, right? It's there. You should not be penalized for doing something legal just because you can't stop it and you're not doing it. And that's really the extent. Y'all don't do it well, so teams want to get rid of it. And that's it. Now, something I do like that the Rules Committee is going to do and change is the virtual measurement is finally happening. As you know, they've been tweaking with this, playing with this since about 2021 with the chip in the football, and it's finally be tweaked where there's going to be no more moving the chains, the chain gang, not happening anymore, which I think is a good thing for the NFL and for football. I could see this working its way into college football as well because it's a more accurate spot. There's the technology's there. The technology is there. Why not use it to be more accurate, to be more correct? Isn't that what we all want? We beg all the time. Get the call right. Sure, you challenge it, but take your time, make sure it's correct. Get it right. Isn't that what we all beg for? Especially when you have the technology, do it. And so I think this is going to be a good thing for the NFL and for the measurement of first down, thankfully. Now, I think this is another smart one as well, a good one I hope they do, and that's changing the overtime rule in the regular season, which would be changing it to what the postseason rules are. So where each team has a chance for possession, even if the receiving team scores a touchdown. So in the regular season, if the receiving team scores a touchdown, game's over. I love this change. So in 2024, 12 out of the 16 teams that won the coin toss won the football game. Is that not a problem? To me, that seems like a problem. Where a coin flip should not essentially decide the outcome of a game. It should be your play on the field, not a 50-50 coin flip. With these teams being missing the playoffs by, a game, maybe a half game if there's a random tie. One game matters. Why not have an equal, even playing field for it to determine the outcome of a game? People are saying, which I agree with, boy, let's not get the Bengals and Joe Burrows in the playoffs. If they get in, boy, watch out with that offense, with that chance. Yeah, the defense was suspect. We know that. But they can outscore you. Joe Burrow's dangerous with that football in his hands and that offense. They missed the playoffs by a game. Now, they didn't have any overtime games. I looked, I checked to make sure I didn't miss anything. But, if they did have an overtime game and they lost on a coin flip because Joe Burrow didn't have a chance to get his hands on the football, and then that game determined them missing the playoffs, I'd be pretty pissed as an organization, as a fan base, when it's simple solutions. Like this stuff isn't hard. It's easy to do. It's easy to fix. Especially with games now being one score games, one possession games, that drive in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I know that drive in the fourth quarter will, potentially, win or lose you the football game, but that tying drive to tie the football game, you go to overtime, your team doesn't get a chance for the ball, that team scored in the regular season, you miss the playoffs. Especially with games and teams being such small margins. Easy solution. Why not make your game better? I know you don't have to because you're the most popular sport. TV ratings, all that bear it out. But why don't you do it for the player's sake? Playoff stuff matters. I mean, it can change even the outlook or the legacy of a player, of considering Hall of Fame. Oh, he led his team to the playoffs X amount of times. Maybe that little thing gets him over the hump if he's a borderline Hall of Famer. Simple solution. It really is. You don't have to change the game. You don't have to tweak laws or rules or make drastic kickoff changes. Each team gets a possession even if the other team scores a touchdown. Simple. Not complicated, not complex. Something else that I feel like is very complex is ESPN not caring one bit about baseball. And that's the sport as a whole. So why does a worldwide leader in sports not care about baseball? And this sport, I don't understand. So you might have saw recently, they backed out of the rest of their Sunday night deal, which is for 7 years, $550 million. So that deal is going to end in 2025. Said it was a mutual agreement, but ESPN has I feel like it has come out and said it's basically our decision. Ours being ESPN's decision to kind of get out of that contract. I think some of it is the huge deal they signed with the NBA. They just signed with the NBA, which I think is going to turn out to be a terribly bad financial deal with how bad NBA's ratings are. And this being the second lowest rated All-Star game ever. Maybe not ever, but in a long time. I don't remember the dates. Maybe it's ever, but we'll just go with a long time to be safe. So they've got all this money tied up into a struggling sport in NBA, in the NBA, that the NBA doesn't care about in the United States. They care about it globally. But that's their business and their deal with ESPN. The financial commitment they have with the NBA, I think, probably resulted in some of ESPN getting out of the Major League Baseball deal. Now, where does ESPN Sunday Night Baseball go? And the national game go? I mean, yeah, they do have national games on TBS. But, at that point, they're still competing with the local broadcast. The Tuesday night game, the Sunday afternoon game. But that's during the day when there's still, if you're a baseball fan, you're watching your local team over a national game. Just like Sunday Night Football, that's the only game on. Monday Night Football. Same thing, the Sunday night ESPN game, 7 o'clock or 7:30, whatever it was, is the only one on. I think the Sunday night game going forward needs to be accessible for everyone and everywhere. So to me, it should not be an Apple TV, an Amazon, etc. Max Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock Plus, any of those streaming services. No, not a good fit to me. I think if you want to continue to grow Major League Baseball, and that's been an emphasis of concern of what they want to do. So I can do it with ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. Give me that's your best option. A Sunday night game, 6 o'clock game, 7 o'clock game. And I know for a fact, players hate the Sunday night ESPN game. I know for a fact. I've talked to them. I've worked for them. It's not as bad if they're at home and they're not traveling on the road. But if it's a getaway day for both teams, hate it. Sunday game, and then they have Monday off, not as bad. But on the whole, they hate the Sunday night game. But the money involved, that's what it is. So if it doesn't work for Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, go FS1. I know they carry national games on there. Even if they take a hit financially short term, hopefully long term it works out, because you have star players all over Major League Baseball. I know the national media thinks it's just on the Dodgers and the Yankees, but there are stars everywhere. Braves got them in Ronald Acuna. Oh yeah, the Detroit Tigers have a Cy Young Award winner. That's your best player, pitcher in all of baseball last year, and Skubal. Even the Cleveland Guardians have them top 5 all-around player in Jose Ramirez. The Phillies, Bryce Harper. I mean, I can go on and on. There's stars everywhere. Even the Pirates. You heard me, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Paul Skeens now. Stud starting pitcher. I mean, I gave you all across the board of players that are such. Yes, you've got the Yankees with Aaron Judd, Garrett Cole, etc. The Mets, Juan Soto, who aren't going to be a very good team. They're going to be okay. But yes, the Mets, Juan Soto. We get pushes. And then the Dodgers, the list goes on. Shohei, Freddie, Mookie, the list is long. But there's stars everywhere. I went from small market Pirates to medium market Guardians to bigger markets Philly, medium market-ish Braves to Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox. There's stars in every Major League Baseball team. If you can market it, that's some of the problem. The opportunity is there if you do this right. Now, another example of why ESPN does not like baseball. I believe this is last Sunday. I was like, all right. I hadn't been home on a Sunday, afternoon. I've always been, busy doing something. I turn on the TV. I'm obviously a sports fan. I'm talking to you, sports. Let me see what's on. Of course, you got your NASCAR. You got your PGA Tour stuff. And I'm scrolling down, and I see ESPN News. I'm like, oh, it's Sunday. You know what ESPN News is playing? They're playing the Air Guitar Championships. Air Guitar Championships. Why not play a college baseball game on? Why not have a college baseball game on? It starts at noon or starts at 1. have college baseball on. It's ESPN News. That would get way more watches, I'm assuming, and viewership than the Air Guitar Championships. Even do a NFL Red Zone style type show for college baseball like they do at the College World Series. Yeah, I know it's different College World Series, but college baseball season just started. And it's not foreign for their family of networks to air college baseball. As SEC and ACC network will air college baseball games. Yes, they'll have, their own, network announcers air the game, broadcast the games and all that. But why are you continuing to hide, not promote one of the big three sports? It's college baseball, college football, college basketball. They continue to try to push women's basketball. Why not actually air some college baseball games? Even if they do like MLB Network does, where MLB Network will take the team's TV feed of teams. So MLB Network might take an NBC Sports Giants game. They'll take their telecast. A Yes Network, they'll take their telecast. FanDuel Sports Cardinals game, they'll take their telecast. Where they're not paying anything. They're just pulling their feed. Why not do that? Why not at least do the exact same thing for college baseball? Then you wouldn't have to pay for your ESPN announcers, your producers, your production, or whatever. You take their digital feed, their announcers, and let them rock. But they don't like baseball. They don't support baseball. They don't care anything about baseball. And it's been shown time and time again. I mean, even on the sport, on the which no one watches. I can't tell you last time I watched First Take. I mean, if it's not Cowboys, LeBron, or Michael Jordan, what are they talking about? So, yeah, it's sad. It really is that they've completely lost interest in that sport. Now, keeping with the baseball theme here, spring training is always the time when you try things from a player standpoint, from a production standpoint, from a rules change standpoint. And that's exactly what they're doing now with the automatic ball strike challenge. And that's being tested right now in spring training and in the minors. It did some of the minors last year. I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this is going to be implemented in Major League Baseball. I think it will. But it can't be every pitch. It can't be every pitch, but a few pitches in a game can change an at bat. So just for an example, I was like, all right, who's the best hitter? Who's the best hitter in Major League Baseball last year? Bobby Witt. So he hit 333, 332 last year in average. I just said just highest average. An example, 1-1 count, Bobby Witt hit 309 last year. And a 1-2 count, he hit 250. That's a big swing. See here, one pitch can completely change an at bat, can completely change an inning, can completely change a game. That matters. That's a big deal. I mean, you have the technology to get it right. Why not use that technology to get the call right, which could potentially impact a game? Once again, like I talked about college football, the NFL changing the committee, with the NFL rules, one game could dictate a team making it in or out of the playoffs. I mean, we saw that last year. Game 162 between the Braves and the Mets. One game can matter. It might not in the grand scheme of 162, but it could. Why take that chance when you have the opportunity to get the call right with the technology you have? It doesn't change the pace of the game. It doesn't change the flow of the game. Challenge. That was a strike from the pitcher. Or challenge. That was a ball by the batter. You pull it up, you digitize it, and boom, it's a ball, it's your strike, change the count, could change the at bat, could change the inning. So Max Scherzer does not like the challenging system. And to me, that's interesting. But he is an older pitcher, and he likes the human error part. And I think sometimes he grew up with it. He grew up his whole life dealing with umpires, the human factor of a ball is a ball, a strike's a strike, no challenge. But I'm curious to see and to hear if he did like the challenging of the safe out calls. I don't recall or remember him saying that. I would assume he liked it. Why would he not like this? It could positively and negatively affect him. Granted, most pitchers I get aren't going to like this because it's going to affect them more than of getting that strike call as opposed to the hitter. And I think that's where it all comes down to it. Different umps have different zones. Some have higher zones, some have lower zones, some have a little off the corners, some don't, But if you have the opportunity to get it right, get the call right. Because it can change a game. And it can dictate a season and at bat. And that's a big deal. So I don't see an issue with this. I don't see them implementing it this year. But that's where we're at. And within the next, I think, year or two, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be an automatic strike zone. Or not a challenge strike zone where you can challenge this one. As always, you can follow me at Lock It Up Media on X. I'm Locke Hoover. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. Talk to you next week.